Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. This week, King County Metro's Fair Enforcement Program is showing unimpressive financial returns. Bike-only weekends on Lake Washington Boulevard are getting a tune-up. And in patented Mariners fashion, the reveal of Ichiro's new statue went wrong. Comedian Phil Burton and Simply Seattle's Danny Ball are here to break down the week. But first, let's get you caught up. Big deadline today for Seattle transportation officials. A proposal is due for how to increase the reliability of the Route 8 bus, known to riders as the Late. In January, Mayor Katie Wilson signed an executive order asking SDOT to design at least one dedicated bus lane on Denny Way and come up with other strategies to improve the corridor for transit. Route 8 is one of the most heavily used buses in the entire system and is also one of the least reliable. Speaking of transit, Ballard residents are marching Sunday to save Ballard Light Rail. We learned recently Sound Transit is facing a $34 billion shortfall, which could lead to some future projects like the extension to Ballard being shortened. One proposal would have the Ballard line go only as far as Seattle Center. Sunday's march begins at 1 o'clock at Yemenshop Park on 14th Avenue Northwest. And get ready, it's another busy sports weekend in Seattle. Trains and freeways might be jammed. The Mariners are back home for a 3-game series against the Texas Rangers Friday through Sunday. Saturday will be especially busy. First pitch for the M's game is at 4:15. The Sounders play next door against St. Louis at 6:30, and the Torrent play Vancouver at 2 p.m. at Climate Pledge Arena. Check back for more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. It's Friday again. How about that hail? My goodness, with a bonus water spout even. Comedian Phil Burton is here. Phil, good to see you, man.
Yeah, great to be back.
Thanks for coming in. Danny Ball is here, too. He does marketing for Simply Seattle and hosts the iconic Sonics podcast. Danny, thanks for coming in, man.
Trish, thanks for having me back. Glad to be here.
All right, you two, before we dive in, the Mariners just cannot help themselves sometimes. And no, I am not talking about Wednesday's loss. I'm talking about the incident during last week's unveiling of the new Ichiro Suzuki statue in front of T-Mobile Park. As Ken Griffey Jr. and Edgar Martinez pulled the tarp off the new statue, the bronze bat on Ichiro's statue snapped at the handle, leaving the rest of the bat dangling at a 45-degree angle. It was really something if you saw it. Seattle Times reports that Griffey went up to Ichiro afterwards and said, "I did not do that." What do you think when you saw this video? Is this just another typical Mariners moment, Danny?
Yeah, another typical Mariners moment. Nothing seems to go right, especially in the early days of the season for the Mariners. But somebody said you should treat your life like baseball, where 78 losses, you can still make the playoffs. So, the great thing about baseball is you can just say it's still April, and that is just a cure-all for anything that goes wrong.
All right, Phil, the image of confetti flying out into the crowd of people while the bat snapped is just kind of sad. The Mariners did have a slow start this season, but starting on that day that the bat snapped, they actually won 4 straight against the rival Houston. Of course, as of this taping, they're crashing. They've lost 2 in a row. What powers are at play here? Is this good or bad omen?
I just think it's funny that the bat looked ridiculous, but also the thing I was looking at was Ichiro's face. If you're going to make a statue, the most important thing, not all statues have bats. The most important thing is to have a handsome face, because Dwayne Wade, he has a tough one. Cristiano Ronaldo, they made the person redo it. I think Ichiro looks very handsome, and hopefully this is a good sign for the season.
So the bat really distracted from the beautiful profile cut by the statue.
Yeah. I think that's where my eyes go to
distracted from
first.
The most important thing. Ichiro seemed to take it in stride, and it isn't the first time a weird statue occurrence happened here, according to the Seattle Times. In 2017, an intoxicated man actually ripped the bronze bat off of the Griffey statue, and he was eventually charged with felony malicious mischief. The bat was reattached. Is this an only in Seattle thing? Would the Yankees break the bat off of a Derek Jeter statue?
I feel like that's probably a Yankees fan that was in Seattle ripping the bat out of Griffey. Because Griffey hates the Yankees. Namely, when he was a kid, they made him get off the field because he was taking ground balls with his dad, and then they would let the Yankees' sons stay out on the field and take ground balls. So he said, I would retire before I went and played for the Yankees. So I'm just going to say that guy that got charged with that is probably a Yankees fan, spiteful of Griffey.
Okay.
This also seems like it could be like a Philly thing, because I know they get pretty crazy too.
So. Well, I'm going to say if anybody in New York broke the bat off of any Derek Jeter statue, they probably wouldn't get very far.
Totally. Well, and on the
they would be murdered.
They would be, for sure. On the topic of the Philadelphia thing, it made me think of The Curse of Billy Penn, where, I think it was 87, they built a building in Philadelphia taller than the William Penn statue, which was supposed to always be the highest mark. And then from 87 to 2008, the Phillies were terrible, and then they finally won a World Series in 2008. So by that math, we're only 21 more years away from a World Series here in Seattle.
All right. Moving to the big story of the week. We've gotten some information about the first few months of fare enforcement from King County Metro, and the returns are basically zero. What kind of message does this send about fare enforcement on the buses? They made a big splash about this.
So I have been cited twice. It's really embarrassing. And they happened on Sound Transit. And the reason I was cited is because Sound Transit's like, I heard it coming, so I just sprinted for it. And then I was like, well, I'm already on here. But the embarrassing thing about being cited is that I clearly am going to work. It's tough. So,
you just want to get it out there?
I just want to get that out there before I have
I have one under my belt as well.
Both of you are offenders here.
When did it happen for you?
Mine was coming home from work, which is almost...
So we're both adults getting fair.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, just so listeners understand, the Urbanist reports that just 8 citations for non-payment were issued between May and December of 2025.
2 for me, 1 for Danny.
This is across King County. All 8 of those citations ultimately got voided due to a lack of complete information. So y'all are giving your wrong home address and contact information too. So the actual number is 0 for those of you counting at home. And just to clarify, we're talking about King County Metro here, so the buses. Sound Transit handles fare enforcement on the light rail, which you are both aware of after your encounters. But I am curious why you didn't pay.
Well, I had a
Trish.
This isn't fair enforcement. Just a question.
I feel attacked. Go ahead.
No, I had a similar thing. When I first got out here, I was a bar back, and they had recovery cards post-COVID where it was comped by the city for workers in different industries. I would use it. I would tap it. Obviously, I wasn't paying for it. And then after that expired, if I'm really worried about getting to the airport and not wanting to, get cited, but usually I'm going for 2 stops, and I'll just hop on and hop off. So I guess that I'm outing myself.
I have some weird logic. If you're Uber driver, I don't know if you always tip your Uber driver, but if the bus is late, if the Sound Transit is late, should you pay the full fare? Maybe
Phil,
if the bus is 10 minutes
just
late.
Just make sure you put your email address at the end of this comment.
Please come for me. But if the bus is late, if the bus is 3 minutes late, is that $3? And knock it down to 0. I'm just hypothetical dude math right here.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, Metro took 5 years off from enforcing fares before starting back up, and the buses all flashed those fares required messages for months, priming people for the eventuality. A team of 30 fare checkers spent 1,200 hours a week on a few specific bus lines checking things out. That is an awful lot of human power for 0 financial return, really.
Not making a great case for us against AI.
Okay, but Metro says it's hard to measure the impact. They think more people are paying just because of the possibility, the specter of being checked, Yeah. They also set out to emphasize education over financial return. So they're saying, the point of this is not to be coming down on people. It's to kind of, hey, do the right thing here.
Well, if that's true, then just give them a tap to pay thing and be like, hey, pull your debit card out, pay the $3 to me. That should be fair enforcement. Rather, if you're going from 8 to 0, you're not getting people's real information anyways. Just collect the fare right there, and then whatever. That just makes more sense, I guess.
The reason King County Metro stopped enforcing fares was due to equity concerns. They found out that fare enforcement was disproportionately impacting low-income riders and people of color. It took them 5 years to get back into the swing of this. But I wonder at this point, can you go back to trying to collect fares after letting people skip the process for so long? All right, moving on to our next topic. Summer is getting closer every day, and Mayor Katie Wilson is getting in the spirit by expanding Seattle's bike-only weekends on Lake Washington Boulevard. Now, every single weekend between Memorial Day and Labor Day, excluding the first weekend of August for Seafair, is bike only weekend. Some are even extended into Mondays for holidays. This is such a popular effort for people who want to get out there and bike safely. Have either of you had a chance to enjoy Lake Washington car-free?
I have not, but I am in the market for a bike.
Ooh.
So I might be at a Greg's or on Facebook Marketplace if anybody's trying to get rid of a bike.
That would be a great place
Yes.
to learn how to ride a bike.
I can ride a bike. I can ride a bike. I can ride a bike, Trish.
We can
but
teach you before the summer's over, Danny.
Yeah.
By the end of the summer, Danny, the training wheels are coming off. What about you, Phil?
I love to bike. I love to bike around there. It's really nice when you don't have to worry about cars.
Yeah.
When I am driving, I can't stand bikers. They're
Man,
so
it is
annoying.
terrifying.
And yeah, as a biker, I've had some close calls. Usually when I'm driving, I'm very aware of bikers because it's like I'm familiar with where the bike lanes are. But the amount of times I see, a biker flip off a driver and it's like, dude, you probably deserved it. But
My husband was a former bike commuter, and he was terrible on the road.
Yeah.
He was terrible. He was dangerous.
Well,
he
it's
was
like
a lot younger then, too.
did he have I guess similar to, you kind of just do whatever's more convenient for you. It's really tough to shake that, especially you got your headphones in, you're swerving.
Oh, my gosh. As a driver in a vehicle, I become terrified when I see bike riders. It's especially on Lake Washington Boulevard where it's so tight. Oh my gosh. Very popular, but I wonder, since we're chatting, does it go far enough? What would you add?
No limes. No lime scooters. Lime scooters are the pickleball of transportation.
I feel like people are going to come from.
They might. Yeah,
Again, add your email address.
No. Lime bikes, lime gliders that look like the bike, those are fine by me, but the actual scooters themselves are the problem. Those are the ones where people are riding them on the sidewalks and it's called a sidewalk, not a side ride.
Oh. Wilson said in a press release that summers in Seattle are beautiful and everyone should be able to enjoy them. Some news outlets described this as an expansion of the bike-only weekends. Others described it as a weekend car ban.
I did see that. It's interesting the way the news has reported because that was the first actual report that I saw of it until I read the rundown here and saw that it was actually more aimed at bikers. So, yeah. Tone is important. Headlines are important.
I wonder what this says, though, about the tension between drivers and cyclists in the city.
There's a lot of it. I think.
Not sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of it for sure.
Yeah. Hot button issue for a long time. Former Mayor Bruce Harrell scaled back this program under his tenure. And then there was the brilliant gaffe under Harrell's leadership when one of the weekends that was supposed to be car-free was derailed by a Rivian commercial shoot. Y'all remember that? That was ironic. Seattle aspires to be a bikeable city. Is it, or is the city just full of cyclists who have to compete with cars?
I'd say it's pretty bikeable.
It's tough to...
Danny Ball, did you just say this city is bikeable?
I think it's pretty bikeable. I don't know. Maybe I don't
he
bike
doesn't know how to ride a bike.
He hasn't even gotten the training wheels off yet.
But, I mean, yes, you can bike around the city, but whenever I go to, a flat place, Portland or Denver or Chicago, and I see the Vans, the cuff jeans, riding a fixie on a flat surface and they're not breaking a sweat, I'm so jealous because I can't wear normal clothes and hop on my bike without getting the back and butt sweat, So
I get that. Okay, that's true. I feel, again, my biking experience is I'm not a bike commuter. It's a lot of I'm coming home from a Mariners game or I'm going out, especially going out. And I mean, the other thing the reason that I don't bike is it just messes up my hair. I have to wear a hat, I'm I can't, you can't show up so much. So is it feasible, I guess, but not the best.
All right. I'm going to say that Seattle is still an aspirational bike commuting city. We want to be bikeable. We're not quite there yet.
I mean, the hills and the weather make it really tough. Yeah. But I'm going to try.
I'm going to say more protected bike lanes and more car-free zones, and you can email me at pmurphy@kuow.org. All right, one last thing before we go. If you don't like going to Mariners games alone, you have a chance to be a +1 to Renda Strub, a 70-year-old Mariners superfan. Renda posted on Facebook she was having a difficult time filling the second seat on her season tickets because her husband isn't down for the ride from Olympia all the time. It now has about 1,000 comments for people asking for this spot. Would you be a good +1 for a Mariners game?
Absolutely. I'm a great +1 anywhere, especially a Mariners game.
What about you, Phil?
I'm all right, but I'm not.
At least you're honest.
Brenda, you can pass on Phil.
Danny has a hat on right now. I don't. When I first read this article, I saw that it seemed like she was kind of hanging her husband out to dry.
A little bit.
Because they've
been married a while.
It went kind of viral on Facebook, right? I would just be like, babe, what the heck, you know? I'll come to a couple games. Like the weather's just not that great right now. But.
The Seattle freeze. We have to talk about it just a little bit. You think it would be awkward to show up with Renda? Would baseball help you get along with someone you just met?
I think we would learn each of ours whole life stories.
Oh.
And I was actually thinking about how I looked a little bit further. I saw that she tragically lost her son.
Yeah, muscular dystrophy.
Which, I cannot imagine. And I think it's really beautiful that she's going to meet so many people this year. And it kind of made me think of this is jumping ahead, but kind of like a rom-com Disney type thing where she meets a son who lost her mom and they bond over baseball.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely because this is a bit of an act of love for her.
Yeah.
For her son.
Yeah.
She says he's with her during every game. Renda says tickets are $70 a game, but the seats are great. 7 rows back along the first baseline. She says if you live anywhere between Olympia and T-Mobile Park, she'll even pick you up on the way. You don't even have to worry about the light rail fare.
Or biking.
There is a lot of candidates. How would you polish your resume to get one of the last remaining seats?
Yeah, Danny, what would you say?
Well, you set me up, Phil. I will do a slight brag here. A couple years ago, got to interview Ken Griffey Jr. during All-Star Game weekend, and the interview was great, but, it was pretty scripted. It was the day before where I got 10 uninterrupted minutes with him and another Mariners legend, Harold Reynolds, and they just told me all these stories about, Jay Buhner and guys that they played against and how they knew Sammy Sosa was cheating with his corked bat. And so I have all that. I grew up on Ken Burns' PBS baseball documentary. And my dad even has a game that you play in between the innings when the umpire throws a new baseball out to the mound. So I love baseball. I think my resume would be pretty top tier.
Yeah, Renda, are you listening? Danny Ball is ready. He's got stories. He's got games.
And I can bring some gear. I'll bring some gear from Simply Seattle. There you go, Renda.
And even bring some gear. All right, we are going to leave it there. Good luck, Danny Ball. Phil Burton is a comedian. Danny Ball runs marketing for Simply Seattle. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Trish.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now, and thanks so much to the generous donors who make this show go. Now, we can't take you to the Mariners game, but we'd still like to ask a favor. Take a moment, rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app. You can help us knock it out of the park. Today's episode was produced by Vaughn Jones. It was edited by Andy Hurst. Our production team also includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you tonight for Evening Headlines.